taste of copper was the last thing I remembered. Copper and freezing, murky water filling my lungs, burning like acid, and the sound, the muffled, heavy thud of the trunk closing above me, sealing my fate, the engine revving, the vibration rattling my teeth before my car, plunged into the quarry lake. I died. I know I died. The darkness was absolute, a heavy velvet curtain dropping on a pathetic play. Then came the gasp. My eyes snapped open, searing against the morning light streaming through the sheer curtains. My body convulsed, lungs heaving, trying to expel water that wasn't there. I clawed at my throat, my fingernails scraping against skin that was warm, dry, and unbroken. No water, no copper taste. Just the lingering scent of expensive Egyptian cotton and the faint ozone smell of the high-end air purifier in the corner of my penthouse bedroom. I sat up, my heart hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The silk sheet slipped down my chest. I touched my face, my neck. Whole, alive. My gaze darted to the bedside table. The minimalist digital clock glowed fiercely. 8:30 a.m. Beside it, my phone buzzed against the polished mahogany surface. I grabbed it, my hands trembling so violently I nearly dropped it. The date glared back at me. April 14th. No, that was impossible. Today was, or should have been, May 20th, my wedding day, the day Elias and my half-sister Chloe decided my life insurance policy was worth more than my presence. I stared at the phone until the screen dimmed. 36 days. I had gone back exactly 36 days. The vibration started again. A text message. Chloe. Morning sunshine. Coffee run before the final dress fitting? I'm already downstairs. XOXO. The name sent a shard of ice straight through my chest. Chloe. My sweet, bubbly half-sister. The one who cried when I got engaged, told me I was the luckiest woman alive, and then held the flashlight while Elias tied my wrists with zip ties. The XOXO at the end of the text felt like a physical slap. I swung my legs out of bed. The plush cream carpet felt alien under my feet. Everything felt alien. This luxury, this silence, this predetermined perfection of a life I had built. It was all a stage set, and I had been the only one who didn't know it was a tragedy. I walked into the ensuite bathroom. The mirror reflected a stranger. She looked like me. Same ash blonde hair, same wide, trusting blue eyes. But the person looking out from behind them was ancient, hollowed out. I splashed cold water on my face. The shock of the temperature grounded me. The water hit the porcelain sink with a sharp, accusing hiss. Not this time, I whispered to the reflection. My voice was rough, unused. I'm not playing the victim in your narrative again. I didn't feel anger. That surprised me. I expected rage, a fiery desire to burn them both to the ground. Instead, I felt a profound, glacial coldness, a detachment so complete it felt almost clinical. They were diseased limbs attached to my life. You don't get angry at gangrene. You excise it. I dressed mechanically, choosing a severe charcoal suit instead of the pastel sundresses I usually favored. I needed armor. Downstairs, the penthouse smelled of freshly ground espresso and the cloying artificial sweetness of Chloe's signature perfume pink sugar. It was a scent that used to make me smile, thinking of her innocence. Now, it made my stomach roil with bile. It was the smell of betrayal, masked as candy. Chloe was perched on a bar stool at the marble kitchen island, scrolling through her phone. She looked up as I entered, her smile bright, practiced, and utterly empty. "There's the bride-to-be," she squealed, sliding off the stool to hug me. Her arms went around me. I stood rigid, my arms limp at my sides. The sickly sweet perfume filled my nostrils, threatening to choke me. I could feel the slight tremor of jealousy she always had when she touched my clothes, the expensive cashmere against her cheaper synthetic blend. "You look intense today, Clara," she said, pulling back slightly, her brow furrowed in mock concern. "Wedding jitters finally hitting?" "Something like that," I said. My voice was flat, devoid of the usual warmth I reserved for her. I walked past her to the coffee machine, needing to put distance between us. "Well, don't worry. Elias is taking care of everything. He's practically a saint for dealing with the vendors." She giggled, a sound like glass beads hitting a tile floor. "I don't know how you landed him. Seriously. A billionaire hedge fund manager who looks like a Calvin Klein model? It's just not fair to the rest of us." Landed him. As if he were a prize trout. Elias wasn't a prize. He was a beautifully packaged, explosive device. In my past life, I hadn't known about the debts until the very end. The gambling losses that ran into the 8 figures. The investors who were actually laundering money for a cartel in Sinaloa. The reason he insisted on such a high life insurance policy for me, payable immediately upon death. "He is something," I agreed, pouring black coffee into a mug. The ceramic was hot against my palms. "Where is the saint this morning?" "Oh, he had some urgent meeting. International markets. You know how it is." He said he'd meet us at the atelier later. Chloe eyed my coffee. "No oat milk latte today? You're really changing things up." "I need something stronger," I said, taking a sip. The bitterness was grounding. "Okay, weirdo. Anyway, are you excited for the final fitting? That Vera Wang is to die for." To die for. The irony tasted sharper than the coffee. "Chloe," I said, turning to face her. I kept my face perfectly still, an unreadable mask. "Have you ever wanted something so badly it hurt? Something you knew you shouldn't have?" Her eyes widened slightly. For a fraction of a second, the bubbly facade cracked, revealing a hungry, grasping avarice beneath. It was the look she gave my jewelry box when she thought I wasn't looking. I don't know what you mean," she stammered, laughing nervously. "Just a philosophical question," I said, setting the mug down with a definitive click on the marble. "Let's go get that dress fitted." The atelier was a symphony of white silk and hushed tones. The air smelled faintly of lavender sachets and expensive champagne. I stood on the pedestal, the magnificent, exorbitant wedding gown swathing my body. It was a masterpiece of lace and tulle, a dream I had nurtured for 6 months. Now, it felt like a shroud. It was heavy, constricting my breathing. The seamstress, a tiny woman with pins holding her hair back, fussed around the hem. Chloe sat on a plush velvet sofa nearby, sipping complimentary champagne and eyeing me with that familiar mix of envy and adoration. The door chimes jingled. In walked Elias. The atmosphere in the room shifted immediately. It always did. He sucked the air out of a room and replaced it with his own gravitational pull. He was devastatingly handsome, tall, with hair the color of midnight and eyes like polished onyx. He wore a bespoke Italian suit that cost more than Chloe's car. But as he approached, the scent hit me. Underneath the spicy notes of his Tom Ford cologne, there was something else. Something metallic and sharp. Gun oil. And beneath that, the faint, sour tang of fear sweat that he couldn't quite shower away. My breath hitched. The sensory memory of the trunk, the cold water flashed violently. "My God, Clara," Elias said, his voice a low, smooth baritone that used to make my knees weak. He stopped a few feet away, his eyes sweeping over me in the dress. "You look breathtaking." It wasn't a compliment. It was an appraisal. He was looking at an asset, calculating its final value before liquidation. He stepped onto the pedestal, invading my personal space. He placed a hand on my waist. His palm was hot, clammy through the thin silk of the dress. I fought the urge to flinch, to recoil as if burned. "I have a surprise for you," he murmured near my ear, his breath ghosting over my skin. He pulled a long, velvet jewelry box from inside his jacket pocket. He snapped it open. Inside sat a diamond necklace that would make royalty blush. A cascade of pear-cut diamonds, easily 20 carats, glittering under the track lighting. Chloe gasped audibly from the sofa. "Elias, oh my God." Elias smiled, a predator showing his teeth. "Only the best for my bride. It's a family heirloom. My grandmother wore it." Liar. He didn't have a grandmother. He bought it 3 days ago, with money he embezzled from his last remaining legitimate client to try and appease the cartel enforcers breathing down his neck. It was blood money draped in carbon. He moved to fasten it around my neck. The cold metal touched my skin, heavy and freezing, like the chain of an anchor designed to drag me to the bottom. In my past life, I had cried. I had kissed him and told him he was too generous. This time, as the clasp clicked shut near my jugular, I felt nothing but revulsion. I looked in the full-length mirror. The dress, the diamonds, the handsome man. It was the perfect picture of a society bride. It was a lie. "It's too much, Elias," I said quietly. His smile faltered. "Too much? Clara, nothing is too much for you. No, I mean it. It feels heavy." I reached up and touched the cold stones. "I don't think I can wear this." Behind him, Chloe had stood up. Her eyes were glued to the necklace, her expression a naked display of longing. She looked from the diamonds to me, as if I were insane for rejecting them. Elias's jaw tightened. Just a twitch of the muscle, but I saw it. A crack in the perfect facade. "Don't be silly, darling. You're just overwhelmed. It's pre-wedding stress." His fingers dug slightly into my waist, a silent warning. "Play your part." I looked at him in the mirror, meeting his onyx eyes. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just realizing that some things are too valuable to hold on to. They attract the wrong kind of attention. I saw the flicker of genuine fear in his eyes then. Did he think I knew? No, he was too arrogant. He just thought I was being difficult. I unclasped the necklace. The relief of the weight leaving my neck was immense. I held it out to him. "Take it back, Elias. I can't wear it. Not yet." He stared at the necklace in my outstretched hand, his face darkening. This wasn't the script. I was supposed to be grateful, pliant. "Clara, actually," I interrupted, my voice cool and detached. "I think I need some air. This dress is suffocating me." I stepped down from the pedestal, ignoring the seamstress's alarmed little cry as I nearly stepped on the train. I walked past Elias, past the stunned Chloe. As I reached the door, I paused and looked back. Elias was still holding the necklace, looking furious. Chloe was standing next to him, her eyes not on him, but fixed greedily on the diamonds in his hand. "Chloe," I said, "why don't you try it on? You always loved sparkly things more than me anyway." The silence in the room was absolute. Chloe's head snapped toward me, her eyes wide. "What? Clara, don't be weird. It's your—" "Go ahead," I said, offering a small, brittle smile. "It might suit you better. I have a feeling it's more your style." I pushed open the door and stepped out into the cool city air, leaving the scent of champagne and lies behind me. The bait had been cast. Now, I just had to wait for the sharks to turn on each other. I didn't return to the penthouse until evening. I spent the afternoon walking the city, breathing in diesel fumes and roasted nuts from street vendors, the smells of reality. The air felt thinner, cleaner than the purified atmosphere of Elias's world. When I finally keyed into the penthouse, the atmosphere was toxic. Elias was pacing the living room, a tumbler of amber liquid in his hand. The sharp tang of expensive scotch hung heavy in the air. barely masking the metallic undercurrent of his anxiety. Chloe was curled on the sofa, scrolling nervously through her phone. The diamond necklace was around her neck. It looked like a noose on her. Elias stopped pacing when he saw me. His eyes were cold fury. "Where the hell have you been, Clara? You walk out of a $10,000 dress fitting and disappear for 6 hours? Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was?" I closed the door behind me with a soft click. The sound seemed to echo in the vast, silent room. "I needed to think," I said calmly, dropping my purse onto a side table. "Think about what?" he snapped, ice cubes clinking angrily in his glass. "About how to humiliate me, about us, Elias. About this life." I walked toward him, stopping just outside his personal space. I looked at the necklace glittering on Chloe's neck. She flinched, her hand going up to cover the stones, a reflexive gesture of possession. "It looks good on her," I said softly. Elias followed my gaze, his brow furrowing. "What are you talking about? Take that off, Chloe." "No," I said. "Let her keep it. It suits the situation." "What situation?" I took a deep breath. The performance had to be perfect. I had to sound broken, overwhelmed, not calculating. "I can't do this, Elias. The wedding, the pressure, the spotlight. It's suffocating me. I'm not the woman for this life. I'm not strong enough to be your wife." I saw the flicker of calculation in his eyes. He was assessing this new variable. If I backed out now, it would be messy. But if I painted myself as weak, as unworthy, "Clara, you're just stressed," he tried, smoothing his voice into that practiced velvet tone. He reached for me, his hand warm and slightly damp with Scotch sweat. I stepped back. "No, I mean it. I want out. I'm calling off the wedding." Chloe sat up straight, her eyes wide. The phone dropped from her hands onto the plush carpet with a muffled thud. "You can't be serious," Elias hissed. The velvet was gone, replaced by steel. "I am. You need someone who wants this life. Someone who craves the spotlight, who appreciates the gifts." I looked pointedly at Chloe again. The silence stretched. I could hear the faint hum of the city dozens of stories below, a distant world. I saw the gears turning in Elias's mind. He needed a wife for appearances, for the investors, for the facade. If not me. Chloe stood up slowly. The diamonds caught the light, sending fractured rainbows across the walls. She looked at Elias, a hungry, desperate question in her eyes. He looked back at her. I saw the moment the idea took root. Chloe was malleable. Chloe was desperate for his approval, for his money. Chloe wouldn't ask questions about where the money came from, as long as it kept flowing. "Fine," Elias said coldly, turning away from me to pour another drink. "If you're too weak to handle it, I won't force you. Pack your things. Be gone by morning." It was easier than I thought. His ego couldn't handle rejection, so he reframed it as my failure. Perfect. I went upstairs to the bedroom, my former bedroom. I grabbed a single duffel bag. I packed jeans, t-shirts, comfortable shoes, no silk, no cashmere. I left the engagement ring on the bedside table. The 6-carat diamond stared up at me, cold and hard. I felt lighter the moment I set it down. When I came downstairs, Chloe was standing in the foyer. She looked torn between guilt and triumph. The triumph was winning. "Clara, are you sure?" she whispered. The scent of her pink sugar perfume was overwhelming, cloying. "I've never been surer of anything in my life, Chloe," I said. I reached out and touched her arm. Her skin felt feverishly hot. "Take care of him. He's a lot to handle." "I will," she said quickly, her eyes darting toward the living room where Elias was brooding. "I know what he needs. You have no idea," I thought. I walked out the door and into the elevator. As the doors slid shut, cutting off the sight of the penthouse, I didn't feel sad. I felt like a diver finally breaking the surface after holding their breath for an eternity. My new apartment was in a part of town Elias wouldn't be caught dead in. It was a fourth-floor walk-up above a noisy 2-4-hour diner. The hallway smelled permanently of old frying oil and damp drywall. The apartment itself was a single room with a kitchenette that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. The linoleum was peeling in the corners, revealing blackened wood underneath. The faucet dripped with a rhythmic, maddening plink, plink, plink. I loved it. It was real. It was mine. It was safe. I got a job at a small, family-owned bookstore 3 blocks away. The pay was abysmal. I spent my days shelving paperbacks, breathing in the comforting scent of old paper and dust motes dancing in sunbeams. My hands, once manicured perfectly, grew dry from handling books. I got a paper cut on my thumb that stung for days. The pain was sharp, grounding. I welcomed it. I didn't check social media. I didn't need to. I knew what was happening. 3 weeks passed. The original wedding date came and went. I spent the day working an extra shift at the bookstore, organizing the history section. I felt a strange sense of vertigo all day, a phantom echo of water in my lungs. But it passed. I survived the day I was supposed to die. I saw the first crack. A week later, I was walking home from the bookstore in the early evening. The air was warm, thick with the smell of impending rain and car exhaust. A sleek black sedan sped past me, splashing dirty puddle water onto my jeans. It was Elias's car. It screeched to a halt at the red light ahead. I stopped, pressing myself into the shadows of a brick building. Elias was driving. He was gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white even from this distance. He was shouting at someone on the phone, his head jerking violently. In the passenger seat was Chloe. She wasn't the glowing bride-to-be I expected. She was huddled against the door, looking terrified. Even from 20 feet away, I could see the dark circles under her eyes, cutting through her heavy makeup. She was wearing a designer blazer, but it looked too big on her, as if she'd shrunk inside it. The light turned green. Elias slammed on the accelerator, the tires chirping on the asphalt. The car tore away, weaving dangerously through traffic. A chill that had nothing to do with the evening air crawled up my spine. The smell of gun oil and fear sweat. It was starting. Another 2 weeks. I was closing up the bookstore, locking the heavy deadbolt. The street was quiet, the streetlights buzzing pinkish orange overhead. Clara? The voice was brittle, hesitant. I turned. Chloe stood there. She looked wreckage. She was wearing a tracksuit that probably cost more than my month's rent. But her hair, usually coiffed to perfection, was pulled back in a messy, greasy bun. Her eyes were bloodshot, darting nervously around the empty street. She smelled stale old perfume mixed with something metallic. Fear. Chloe, I said, keeping my voice neutral, my keys cold in my hand. What are you doing here? She hugged herself, shivering though it wasn't cold. I needed to see you. You changed your number. I needed a fresh start. It's Elias, she stammered, her voice cracking. He's been so intense lately. Paranoid. There are these men. They come to the penthouse late at night. Rough-looking men. They speak Spanish. Elias makes me stay in the bedroom. The cartel enforcers. They were getting impatient. Sounds stressful, I said flatly. Stressful? Clara, I think something is seriously wrong. He's bleeding money. He's making me sign things. Weird loan documents. Account transfers. He says it's just temporary. For tax purposes. Because we're, together now. My stomach tightened. He was setting her up, just like he planned to set me up with the life insurance. He was shifting the debt onto her name before the inevitable crash. Why are you telling me this, Chloe? You got what you wanted. Her face crumpled. I don't know. You were with him for 2 years. Was he ever like this with you? Elias is a complicated man, I said. He likes to control things. You knew that. But this is different. He screams at me if I spend too much on groceries, but then he buys me a $50,000 watch the next day to apologize. I feel like I'm going crazy. She reached out, grabbing my arm. Her nails were sharp, digging into my sweater. Clara, you have to help me. I think I made a mistake. I looked down at her hand on my arm. The diamond bracelet on her wrist glittered in the street lamp light. Cold. Hard. You didn't make a mistake, Chloe, I said, gently prying her fingers off my arm. You made a choice. You wanted my life. You have it. But it's not what it looked like, she cried. No, I agreed softly. It never is. A heavy truck rumbled past on the adjacent street, its cargo door slamming shut with a loud, echoing bang. The sound hit me like a physical blow. The world tilted. Flashback. The trunk lid slamming down. Darkness. The smell of the carpet liner, dusty and suffocating. The vibration of the car moving. The sudden weightlessness as we went off the edge into the quarry. The freezing water rushing in, biting at my skin, filling my nose, my mouth. I gasped, staggering back against the bookstore window. My heart was thrashing in my chest. I couldn't breathe. Clara? Are you okay? Chloe's voice sounded miles away. I squeezed my eyes shut, forcing the memory back into its box. Not now. Not here. You are alive. You are dry. I opened my eyes. The street swam back into focus. Chloe was looking at me with genuine alarm. I have to go, I managed to say, my voice raspy. Wait, Clara, please. What do I do about the papers he made me sign? I started walking away, walking faster, putting distance between myself and the stench of her fear and my own memories. Read the fine print, Chloe. I called back over my shoulder, not looking back. Always read the fine print. The collapse didn't happen slowly. It was an avalanche. I was at home, sitting on my lumpy futon, eating instant noodles. It was a Tuesday night, rainy and quiet. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Then another. Breaking news. Billionaire hedge fund manager Elias Vance under investigation for massive fraud scheme. DOJ raids Midtown penthouse. In connection with international money laundering ring. I turned on the small television I'd bought at a thrift store. The screen filled with shaky helicopter footage of the penthouse building my old building. Police cars with flashing blues and reds swarmed the entrance like angry ants. Men in FBI windbreakers were carrying out boxes of files. The reporter on the ground was shouting over the noise of sirens. Sources say Vance has been running a Ponzi scheme for years, allegedly laundering money for the Sinaloa cartel. His assets have been frozen immediately. I put down my noodles. The broth tasted suddenly metallic. The camera cut to the lobby entrance. 2 officers were leading a man in handcuffs out. Elias. He looked deranged. His expensive suit was rumpled, his tie missing. His hair, always perfect, was wild. He was shouting at the cameras, spitting venom, but the sound was drowned out by the sirens. His onyx eyes were wild, darting around like a trapped animal. Then, they brought out Chloe. I almost didn't recognize her. She wasn't in handcuffs, but she looked broken. She was wearing a silk bathrobe over pajamas, her face streaked with black rivers of mascara. She was sobbing hysterically, clinging to a female officer as if her legs refused to hold her. The reporter's voiceover continued, also questioning Vance's current partner, Chloe Davis, whose signature appears on numerous fraudulent loan documents executed in the last month. Authorities believe she may be deeply implicated in the scheme. Implicated. Elias had done it. He had successfully transferred a massive chunk of the liability onto her. She had signed her life away for the sake of wearing pretty dresses and living in his penthouse. The camera zoomed in on Chloe's face as they led her to a separate car. In the chaos of the flashing lights, her eyes locked onto the camera lens. For a split second, she looked right at me through the screen. The sheer terror, the complete devastation in her face was absolute. She mouthed one word, "Help." I turned off the TV. The silence in my small, crappy apartment rushed back in, broken only by the rhythmic plink, plink, plink of the leaky faucet. I walked to the window and looked out at the rain-slicked street below. A stray cat was taking shelter under a dumpster. I felt a profound emptiness. Not sadness, not triumph, just a vast, cold quiet. The scales had balanced. The debt was paid. 2 days later, I went to the courthouse. I didn't have to go, but some gravitational pull drew me there. I needed to see the end. I sat in the back row of the arraignment hearing. The room smelled of floor wax, stale coffee, and nervous sweat. It was a scent I would forever associate with closure. Elias and Chloe sat at separate tables, flanked by lawyers who looked tired already. Elias was glowering, his jaw set so tight I thought his teeth might shatter. Chloe was a ghost. She sat hunched over, staring at the table, shaking silently. They didn't see me. I was just another face in the crowd of reporters and curious onlookers. When the judge read the charges against Elias wire fraud, money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy, the list went on for 10 minutes. Bail was denied. He was a flight risk, a major one. Then came Chloe's turn. Accessory to fraud. Signing false documents. Her lawyer tried to argue she was coerced, ignorant. The judge wasn't having it. Her signature was everywhere. Bail was set at $500,000. She didn't have $500. As the bailiffs moved to take them back to holding, Elias turned to look at the gallery, searching for a friendly face, a potential savior. His eyes swept past me, then snapped back. He froze. The bailiff tugged at his arm, but he didn't move. He stared at me across the rows of benches. I was wearing jeans and a simple gray sweater. No makeup. My hair tied back plainly. I looked nothing like the society doll he had tried to marry. I met his gaze. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just looked at him with the cold, detached clarity of someone watching a building demolition from a safe distance. In that moment, I saw the realization hit him. It wasn't just anger in his eyes anymore. It was dawn. He connected the dots. The sudden change in me. The rejection of the necklace. The way I handed Chloe over to him on a silver platter. The timing. His mouth opened slightly. He mouthed something. It looked like, "You knew." I held his gaze for 1 second longer. Then I stood up and walked out of the courtroom. The heavy wooden doors swung shut behind me, sealing them inside their fate. I waited outside the rear exit of the courthouse. The loading dock area was gritty, smelling of dumpster juice and wet concrete. It was where they loaded the prisoners for transport back to jail. I needed one last word. The transport van rumbled idly. A door opened, and 2 guards led Chloe out first. She was shuffling in leg irons, her head down. "Chloe," I said. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the rumble of the engine. Her head snapped up. When she saw me, a fresh wave of tears broke over her face. She lurched toward me, stopped by the guard's hand on her arm. Clara, oh my God, you have to help me. Please, tell them. Elias made me do it. I didn't know." Her voice was a ragged scream. "You signed the papers, Chloe. You wanted the life. You paid the price." "But I'm your sister," she wailed. "How could you let this happen to me? You must have known something was wrong. Why didn't you warn me?" The guard was pulling her toward the van. "I gave you exactly what you wanted," I said coldly. I stepped aside. They shoved her into the van. The doors slammed shut on her sobbing. Next came Elias. He wasn't crying. He was walking with a rigid, furious dignity. When he saw me, he stopped, ignoring the guard's prod. His eyes were black holes of hate. "You bitch," he snarled, his voice low and venomous. The smell of his fear sweat reached me even over the dumpster stench. "You set me up. You knew everything, didn't you?" "I didn't set you up, Elias," I said, stepping closer. The metal of his handcuffs glinted in the harsh security light. "You built this trap yourself, brick by brick, lie by lie. I just declined to step into it this time." "How?" he demanded, straining against the guard. "How did you know?" I looked him dead in the eyes. The memory of the freezing water, the copper taste, was distant now, like a nightmare from childhood. "Because the trunk of your Mercedes is terrible for acoustics," I whispered. "And quarry water tastes like copper." His face went slack. All color drained from his skin, leaving him gray beneath the harsh lights. He stared at me as if he were looking at a ghost, which, in a way, he was. "Impossible," he breathed. "Goodbye, Elias." I turned my back on him. The guard shoved him forward. I heard his chains rattle as he was loaded into the van. The heavy steel doors slammed shut with finality. The engine roared, and the van drove away, carrying my past life to a concrete cage. I stood there for a moment in the quiet alley. The air smelled of rain and exhaust, but beneath it, I caught a faint scent of damp earth from a nearby planter. It was the smell of growing things. I started walking. Not away from something, but toward something. My small apartment, my job at the bookstore, my leaky faucet, my life. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't rich, but it was mine, and I was alive to live it.